I believe in visibility, getting out there on podcasts, on online summits, lives, whatever it is, you need to be out there.
Like, what are the main key points? Because it's a lot of components when it comes to speaking. And, you know, me being someone who has been in the audience before, it's a lot of things that I'm paying attention to when somebody gets on that stage. Yeah. I'm looking at your body language. Yeah. I'm looking at how you're expressing yourselves. If you're at an event and you're trying to sell, all those, you missing one of those things could literally probably cost you a sale.
First of all, I tell people that nobody expects you to be perfect. It's okay if you make a mistake. Everybody, I mean, we've had presidents of the United States that make mistakes. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You can make mistakes. Yeah. It's okay. Also, focus on helping the people that you're talking to. Mm-hmm. Give them so much value, whether they buy or not. So in sales, if you're focused on what's in it for you, it won't go very well. But if you're focused on how you can help people, the sky's the limit.
What is the framework that you typically would teach a person to be able to start making unlimited amounts of sales?
All right, guys. So before we jump into the episode, just want to make a big announcement. We just launched the Motion and Success community, guys. So in this community, we're going to be giving you the game on content. Basically, how to grow your profile from 0 to 100K in under a year, as well as how to make money online, getting leads for your business, more customers, more money.
Also, for the Motion and Success podcast, one of the things that I realized, we're attracting a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, and people that are just starting up their business and they're looking to start growing their business and scaling. One of the key factors to growing a business is by borrowing capital. So now when you're going out to certain banks, there's certain things that you need to do to be able to get funding for your business, to be able to start, grow, and scale what you got going on and take things to the moon. So if you're looking to go out and start growing and scaling your business like a lot of our guests has been doing, I'm going to teach you how to go out and get access to capital, access to credit cards, lines of credit, loans, things of that nature, so that way you can start growing your business. Sometimes you might just need an extra 50,000. Sometimes it might be 100,000. But listen, check us out inside the community. Go ahead and click the link down below and book a call with us. And I'm going to see you guys inside the community. Enjoy the rest of the episode. All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode. Listen, guys, my name is Cody Brown and I got my co-host with me today.
It's Ayo. And bro, we got another great episode, yo.
Listen, I agree, brother. I agree. So listen, today we are going to be interviewing another high-level entrepreneur / businessman. He's been crushing it in the industry for the past 15 plus years. He's going to be talking about exactly how you can get on stages, how you can get seen in front of more people, get your public speaking skills better, how to be able to get seen by more entrepreneurs, your dream clients that you're looking for, and just share some more expertise on the sales, because sales is probably one of the most important things when it comes to business. So, Eric, go ahead, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, and we could get started from there.
Thank you. My name is Eric F. King, and I help a lot of coaches, speakers, and authors to basically get out there, to be seen and be paid, okay? I've been a sales coach for over 20 years now, helping entrepreneurs 2x, 3x, even 10x their sales without being pushy. But now I'm focused on putting people on stages in my studio so we can get the word out about their offers.
Nice. That's amazing. And it kind of like, you know, just hearing the word speaker and sales, you know, they go hand in hand, because, you know, most of the times you see a lot of these high-level entrepreneurs, they're hosting conferences, they're speaking in public and things like that. And it's a skill like a lot of people don't have. So what led you into that field of, you know, speaking, and then kind of also in the sales field as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I actually started by accident. So for all of you that say you're not a speaker or you don't like to sell, listen to this. I wasn't either. I became a speaker in high school when I was forced to give a speech, right? And I was terrified, obviously. And I gave this speech, and then I had to do it again. I was like, they call him a class captain, so you have to speak. And then someone told me, she said, you're getting better. I said, I'm getting better? Because, you know, at the first one was horrible. And then I started to do it more, right? And I realized in life that you get farther ahead if you know how to speak. Yeah. You can be a leader. You can inspire people, right? So that's how I got into the speaking. In sales, that happened by accident also, right? I got a job with Xerox many years ago, and I wanted to be in marketing. I wanted to be behind the scenes, but then they said, you know, you have to be in sales for a couple of years before you get into marketing. So I got into sales reluctantly, and I did horribly. My first like 60 days, I wasn't that good. But then I learned from a coach how to sell without being pushy, how to help people get what they want, and everything changed. Then I moved up to VP of sales, and then I started my own business and started helping entrepreneurs do the same. That's how it started for me.
Wow. I've heard one time, I don't know if I was reading a book or if I was listening to a podcast or something like that, but they was like, if we're at a funeral and somebody has to read a person's urology, they would rather be inside of the casket versus the person that's on stage talking.
Yeah.
Like, that is probably one of the most craziest things, because a lot of times people can't handle the amount of eyeballs that are watching them.
Yes.
They can't handle the fact that they might say a word wrong. They might say something messed up that probably didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And, it's just, but I think it all goes in, hand in hand with speaking.
It does.
Essentially, you're going to mess up at some point.
Exactly.
You
You can't be afraid to mess up. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
If you're afraid to mess up, you won't do anything. If you're afraid to mess up in business, you won't start.
Yeah.
Right? So part of it is not being concerned about what people are going to say. You just do what you have to do. The people that you'll attract the right people and repel the wrong people every single time.
Okay.
Growing up, were you ever like a bad speaker? Like, did you ever have like issues with speaking in public or being like introverted? Did you ever have that type of?
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't that good when I started. First of all, there's what it is. I never looked up. Like I'd write the notes and I just look and like, okay, Eric, at some point you actually have to look at people. So I didn't look up. I used to look at that and my hands would be shaking. So imagine you're not looking up, everybody's looking at the paper and your hands are shaking at the same time. But you know what I said to myself, I have to get better. Right? I don't want to do this for the rest of my life and I have to give a speech, when I'm 40 or 50 at my son's graduation and I can't speak. You know what I mean? So I said I have to start early, and that's how I started. And you got to practice. You got to do it over and over and over again, and then you become more and more comfortable.
Got it. So I just want to take things a little bit back, because I know you said you've been doing this for the past 20 plus years. Starting out, like, did you always know you wanted to be a businessman? Like, how was life growing up? Like, did you have parents that were already involved in the business? Like, how'd you get your first kick at, everything?
Well, it was my dad. My dad was a businessman.
Okay.
And he had a real estate company, and every time I went to his business, he had his name on the building. His name was on the building. And I said, I want my name to be on the building. So he said, well, then you have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He said, if you're working at a job, your name won't be on the building.
That's true.
So I said, okay, I need to do what it takes to have my name on the building. Yeah. So that was my first, I guess, foray into entrepreneurship. I'll find things to do. And then he told me, he said, sales goes hand in hand. He said, every entrepreneur is a salesperson, whether they know it or not. So you got to learn that as well to become good at whatever you're doing.
So did you start working under your father, or like did he give you his first product to sell? Like, how did things look?
Actually, no, I didn't. My father was very successful at real estate, and this probably didn't make sense back in the day, but I didn't want to do what he did. I want to make a name for myself doing something else. So he wanted us to work together. Maybe it was a dumb move, but I want to say, look, I created this success, and it's not because you gave me listings. So that's why I never took that path, but I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from him in business and in sales.
That's good.
That's amazing. And I do gotta ask you, like, is this your first time out here in New York, or you been in New York before?
I've been here before, but I came to watch like a Broadway show. I forgot there was so much traffic though. I just came back today. Lord have mercy. Yeah. I love y'all, but wow, the traffic is ridiculous.
Everybody got somewhere to go.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah,
but you definitely gonna enjoy your time out here though. It's like so much things to do, and like they say, it's like the city of like the bright lights.
Yeah. Yes.
So like, I do want to ask you too, like, how was life growing up, in North Carolina?
Well, I actually didn't grow up in North Carolina. That's where the studio is. But mostly in the Philadelphia, Maryland, this area. And for me, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always wanted. I mean, I had a paper route when I was a kid, and with the paper route, they gave you a certain amount. It was $50 every 2 weeks. Believe it or not, that's a long time ago.
Wait, how much?
$50 every 2 weeks. Believe it or not.
I mean, that's good as a kid, though.
As a kid, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But then the guy told me, he said, but those are for the people that get the paper on a regular basis. If you actually get new people to get the paper, you'll get a bonus. And it's that bonus that got me excited. So I would go up to the house, knock on the door, and introduce myself. Hi, my name is Eric, and I deliver paper for your neighbor, Joanne, over here. And I noticed that you don't get the paper Joanne gets. And I just want to know, do you know about it? And they're like, no. Well, let me show you. And then I'll just show it to them and say, would you like to get the paper? And they're like, well, I'll try it out. Okay. And then one time I found is when they try it out, they usually stay. So I said, well, just try it out. You can cancel later. and then I started getting these bonuses, which was more than the $50. And when I told my dad, he said, "That's the entrepreneur in you. That's what entrepreneurs do. They're not focused on what you're gonna get. That's regular. They're focused on the abundance, what you can make." And so that was my first job, my real first job.
Oh man, wow.
Yeah, that's dope.
So you learned kind of like the persuasion side of the sales side, from that experience.
Yeah.
So how did that help you, later on in life?
Well, it helped me in everything. I've owned different businesses. It doesn't matter how good you are in what you do. It doesn't matter how great your service or your product is. If you can't sell it, or if you first can't do the marketing for it, and you can't sell it. Like I tell people, 85% of your time should be marketing and sales. Most people do the opposite. Most people are focused on operations. They're focused on back end. They're focused on hiring people, and they never get around to marketing or selling. That's where the money is. You know? And also they don't realize that selling is service. So when you're selling, you're actually helping people.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're not selling your offer, your offer is not helping people.
Yeah. So I do want to fast forward, after speaking over the backstory now, basically some of the things that you've built over time, you went from doing the paper routes to basically now after that, you went into Xerox for a few years, you went into the VP management, and now you are, you're teaching other entrepreneurs and business owners how to speak on stage, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. So now as far as, starting up that business right there, this business model that you're focusing on right now, what led to that spark? Like, how did you get started with this new business? And what's the name of it? It's
Studiospeaking.com.
Studiospeaking.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So just let us know what was the main spark that got you, so curious to be able to, venture out from corporate to your own thing now?
I know you guys are loving this episode. Eric F. King here. If you are a speaker, coach, or author and you want to get on more stages, you want to make more money, you want to be more visible, then definitely go to successwitheric.com/100, successwitheric.com/100. Click on the link and you'll get valuable information that can help you take your business to a whole new level. Make it a great day. Yes. Well, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I knew that eventually I would leave Xerox for my own businesses.
Right.
And I believe in visibility, getting out there on podcasts and online summits, lives, whatever it is, you need to be out there. And then I watched an event by Tony Robbins, and he had a studio event where he brought in some speakers to speak in the studio, and it was broadcasted all over the world on Zoom, and they had the large Zooms, like 6 feet tall, and I thought, this is incredible. I just loved the way it looked, right? And I tried to get on the stage. They wouldn't even call me back. They didn't even say no. They just wouldn't even call me back, right? So I said, okay, I need to create one, and I need to help other people. People that look like me to be able to get on stages. And and then I did my first one, studio event, and my second one, I gave a lot of value. I had 36 people book a call, never happened before. And then out of that, 15 people bought my offer within a day, which was a pretty good day. Yeah. And I just realized that, I know that if you help enough people get what they want, you'll have everything you want. So I said, okay, now I'm going to help people. And then I started sharing this with other people. Now I've had people that speak about mindset on my stage, people that speak about podcasting on my stage, people that speak about financial wellness, right? All kinds of people, and they're like, I don't know, 30 testimonials or whatnot on my site. But it's really helped a lot of people to get more business and to get more speaking engagements. And one thing I always tell people is, if you're not sure what people want, ask them. Right. Every time I do another event, people say, "Well, do you have this?" And I say, "I can add that." Do you have that? I can add that. And now we have an incredible package that people just love.
So what's like the main thing that people come to you for? Like, are they usually coming to you for like marketing? They already started the business. They having trouble with the marketing services, or are they like a brand new business where they don't have their offer, or they've been trying to get on stages for majority of the time? Like, what are people usually coming to you for? Because they know you as the king of studio events.
Yes.
What are they mainly coming to you for most times?
Well, it really runs the gamut. So some people are coming to me because they want to be seen by more people, or they want to increase their sales, or they want the assets that we give them. Because when you speak on my stage, it's not just a one-day affair, right? I call it an event, right? An experience. It starts months before. We're promoting you on Facebook. We're getting people. You're getting known. A lot of people get business before they speak on my stage, and then when you come there, we give you an award for what you've accomplished, right? So in front of everybody. So that helps. That helps to promote you, right? And then obviously you get the video, the reels. We do the photo shoot, right? There's so many things you get. In addition, you're part of our community now, right? So you're around high-level speakers, coaches, and authors. So there's a lot that they get. And like I said, I always end by telling them, okay, what else would you like? I give them the survey. And when they say it, I add it. So there's a whole host of other things that we help them with as well.
Okay. Wow. And then, you got a question?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are the main key points? Because it's a lot of components when it comes to speaking. And, me being someone who has been in the audience before, it's a lot of things that I'm paying attention to when somebody gets on that stage. I'm looking at your body language. I'm looking at how you're expressing yourselves. I'm looking at, your tone, your voice, and if you're at an event, you're trying to sell, all of those, you missing one of those things could literally probably cost you a sale, even though you might have the expertise. So what do you focus on, especially with the entrepreneurs you work with, to tell them like, hey, this is how you sell at a conference. This is how you sell at a speaking engagement. Like, what are some things you focus on?
First of all, I tell people that nobody expects you to be perfect. It's okay if you make a mistake. Everybody, I mean, we've had presidents of the United States that make mistakes. Like, it doesn't matter. You can make mistakes. It's okay. Also, focus on helping the people that you're talking to. Give them so much value, whether they buy or not. Like, people say, well, I don't want to give them all the value because then I won't get paid. You're not going to get paid if you don't give them value. Because then they don't know you have the value to give, right? So you want to give them value. That if you speak for 20 minutes, don't pitch for 20 minutes. Teach and help them achieve their goal for 15, 17 minutes without even talking about your offer. And then at the end, say, well, if you want more, if you want to dive deeper, if you like to work with me, then here you go. You can book a call, or you can grab this information, and then you work with the serious people and help them get to where they want to be. So I think a lot of people, the fear comes from wanting to sell so bad and make so much money that you're hesitant to do it. If I told you to call up a friend of yours and give him $500, just call him up and say, you know what, God told me to bless somebody, and today's your day. I'm giving you $500. Would you be nervous calling that person?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay. What if I told you to call the same friend, and here's what I want you to do: to ask him to give you $500, not borrow. Give me $500. Would you be nervous? Just call him randomly and say, "Can you give me $500 today?"
With an explanation, or just give me $500?
Well, you can have an explanation, but will there be any trepidation to make that call when you're asking for money?
There would have it will be a thought behind it.
There would be a thought behind
should I or should I not? Should I use a credit card?
Yeah.
Should I go to somebody that is more close?
Exactly.
There would be a thought.
Exactly. Yes. So, and the reason I say that is because a lot of people, when they're selling, they're thinking about taking. You know, I mean, I want to talk to Aya today. I wonder if I'll be able to sell my $5,000 offer because I really need to pay my rent, and that would really help me. And it's all about them. And so now they're so nervous to call Aya. They're so nervous, right? But if they were calling him and saying, how can I help him in his business? Can I help him get to where he wants to be? Can I help him make more money? Now it's like, I can't wait to talk to him. I can't wait to show him how I can help him and his family, right? You're excited. That's the thing. So in sales, if you're focused on what's in it for you, it won't go very well. But if you're focused on how you can help people, the sky's the limit.
Where do you see a lot of salespeople usually mess up, other than, you know, them having their own, you know, their own like thing, their own like intentions in mind? Where do a lot of people usually drop the bag in sales?
Because they forget it's not about them. They forget. They think they get into it with the thought that I need to make money, right? The inventions that were created that created billions are inventions that just help people. Like, people can't afford not to get it. Think about Amazon. Think about Amazon. My son had he had a paper or something to do at school, and he needed to buy some stuff, and he needed to get to me the same day or something. So I said to him, I said, you know, this is too late. Are you just telling me now? Yeah. And he goes, but Dad, we can get it on Amazon and it will be delivered today. I said, really? He said, yeah. I saw it. You have Prime and you can do it. I said, really? So he did it. I wasn't thinking, you know, what, you know, am I going to send money to Jeff Bezos, or do I even like the guy? No, I needed it, and he's the one that can provide it, right? So if you have an offer that can help people solve their problems, you'll make more money than you can even dream of.
So how about like the part of, like, you know, when it comes to offering, you know, sales and everything like that, most times I really believe it's probably like, it is more of a mindset shift that has to take place first. You know, so like when it comes to starting off, or even, you know, selling a product, first things first, you got to start seeing testimonials. So do you think like, you got to sell yourself that, yo, listen, this thing actually works. So that way you're more enthusiastic on a call. You can, you know, for sure, if you take this person's money, you'll definitely deliver for sure. Yeah. Starting off, or even in sales, or even in business, do you think it's a better idea to start selling other people's product, or sell your own product, so that way you can start getting some more testimonials? What's your idea in mind when it comes to that aspect?
Great question. So for me, I started with other people's products, right? And then I graduated, I call, to mine. Here's the deal. If you don't believe in yourself and your product 100%, you won't sell it. It's harder to sell your own product than it is to sell somebody else's product. So it's good to start with that. Start selling somebody else's product. Then you develop the skills. Then you can start selling your own, right? A lot of people just have this, it's like an inferiority complex, that why would someone buy from me? Why would they pay me $1,000, right? And I don't know where it comes from, but that's how we think, right? So you know, to answer your question, somebody else's product is probably better. For me, I've sold a lot of other products, and then I started mine. When I started studiospeaking.com, it's not the first person that said yes, not even the second or the third, right? Some people said, no, I don't think it's for me. But because I believe in myself and I believe in my offer, I didn't quit. I mean, now we have like 30 testimonials on the site that, you know, talk about how much money they've made and all the speaking engagements and all that. So if I didn't believe in myself, I wouldn't have started it. You know what I would have done? I would have called enough people to talk me out of it.
Hey family, just a big announcement I wanted to share with you guys. We just launched the Motion and Success community. So listen, a lot of times, a lot of you guys are struggling online to grow your social media platform. You're considered the best kept secret. Literally, no one knows you. You got a business, but if your business is not online, you're literally a secret. We're gonna be showing you guys how to grow from 0 to 100K online organically. If we did it, you guys can definitely do it too. We had influencers like Queen Latifah, Rick Ross, Usain Bolt, and many others liking our content, and this was all done organically. If you want to know those specific strategies on how you can take your brand and your business to the next level and start putting more money in your pocket, getting more leads for your business, getting more clients, and taking yourself to the next level of entrepreneurship, comment the word motion down below, and let's start creating you some motion and definitely some success, but more importantly, some leads that convert into dollars.
Because that's what most people do.
Yep.
What do you think?
Do you think
What
it's
do you
a good
think?
idea?
What do you think? Do you think it's a good idea?
Yeah.
And then the first person that says, I don't know if that'll work. You're like, okay, I'm not doing this because I don't want to fail. Then it's over. And then guess what happens? A couple months later, you see that someone is doing it. Like, oh, I had that idea. I had that idea. The difference is they took action. Yeah. It's the start that stops most people.
Yep. I agree. And like, what's your thoughts on, you know, because it's definitely some entrepreneurs who they got the gift of being really good at speaking, but it gets to a point where they just start to just sell anything. Like, you know, they can sell anything, whether it's a good product or a bad product. They just know how to speak. Yeah. So in that aspect, like what advice would you give to them? Because they could also lose some credibility. You could lose all your credibility, even when you're on stage and you're speaking. When you speak and you're selling something that it doesn't produce results, or you know, it could really, really affect your credibility. Yes. So like, how do you teach them to kind of be like, hey, you know, maybe you shouldn't talk about this, you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, in my sales coaching, before everybody starts, I basically make everybody take an oath that you're going to use this information for good. because you can, if you look, I said when we're done, you'll be able to sell a 747. You'll be able to sell whatever after my coaching. But I do not want you selling something that you know is not going to work for people. So use this for good. You know, I get people send me messages all the time. Eric, oh, I have this great product. I joined this great company. You'd be good at it. I hear that all the time. You'd be good at it. And then, you know, I find out that it's not really helping anybody. You know, it's smoke and mirrors. And I said, I can't do this. He said, but no, you'll be good. I said, I won't be good at something if there's no integrity behind it. You know what I mean? You know, I can't just sell anything. I got to believe it's helping people.
Absolutely.
And that's your integrity. I'll tell you a little story, which is really funny. So one of the ladies that was one of the first people to speak on my stage, I talked to her about it, and she said she needs to think about it. So she talked to somebody that knew me like 20 years ago, right? And the person said, well, I don't really know Eric, but my buddy knows him. So she called that person and asked him if I'm a good person to do business with. And the guy, his name is Mike, he said, oh, yeah, Eric, he's, you know, he's a straight up guy. He's honest and all of that. So then she calls me back and said, I'm ready to do it. So she started, and she didn't tell me what she did. And then later on, she said, I called him to find out about your integrity, right? And when I was doing business with him 20 years ago, I didn't know I'm going to start studiospeaking.com 20 years later. I was just being myself. If I ripped him off, if I scammed him, she would not only would she not speak on my stage, but she would tell everybody, don't go to that guy, right? Someone asked me, she goes, can you give me a couple names of people that you work with so I can just talk to them? I said, I could do better. I said, go to successwitheric.com and you'll see like 40 people I've worked with. Call any one of them. Then go to studiospeaking.com and you'll see all the speakers that work with me, right? You know, your reputation precedes you. So you have to do the right thing to everybody you meet because you never know.
Just never know.
You just never know.
Yeah, I feel like integrity is probably one of the most important things in business. You know what I mean? Selling something that you know, all right, cool. Sometimes you might not have the full-on confidence that it will deliver. That's a part of business. That's a part of sales. But overall, like something that you know, all right, cool, that they can actually benefit off of this product. You know, this is something that they actually said that they needed help with. They answer all the questions. They said all the right things. They said, all right, cool. The consequence questions, if they don't execute now, what's going to happen in the next few months later? Yeah, you know, the consequence questions, things of that nature. So it's really all about believing and being a clean person, not selling any fluff, anything that's not going to benefit them, or even overselling them by like thousands of dollars meanwhile, you know. So all of those things go into play.
That's true.
So I did want to ask you in regards. So now you said something very powerful. When somebody starts your program, make sure that you use the things that I teach them for good. What is the framework that you typically would teach a person to be able to start making unlimited amounts of sales?
Okay, so in sales, most people buy off emotion and not logic. So if you're asking questions, if you're speaking to your prospect and you're asking questions, you want to find out what will make them buy the offer. And usually it's more emotion. I'll give an example. Let's say you are a realtor and you're working with your client and they said, I have a 2-bedroom, I need a 3-bedroom, right? Don't just say, okay, let's get you a 3-bedroom. Say, why do you need a 3-bedroom? Well, because, my son and my daughter, they stay in the same room, and my daughter's getting older now. She's a teenager, so she wants to have her own room. And also, we live in a bad neighborhood. I want a safer neighborhood. Now you know why they need to move.
Yeah.
So now when you find the right place that's perfect, and you say, okay, this is it, everything works out. You want to, do you want to put a down payment or whatever it is? And they say, well, I don't know, maybe I need to, hold off for a couple of years. Then you can ask them, well, what about your daughter, who you said that she's not comfortable staying in the same room, right, with her brother? Mm-hmm. And a couple of years out, that's a long time. Yeah. Right. And then you said you want to be in a nice area, like you don't, the crime is a lot in this area, right? Yeah. Right. I mean, so if I were you, I would do it sooner than later because it benefits your family that way. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, that's right, right? And then they do it. Mm-hmm. Now they do it and they thank you later. I said, thank you so much, bro, for what you did. Like, we would still be in that area. My daughter would still be coming to me every night and say, Dad, I don't want to stay there anymore. Yeah. But because of you, we live in the house of our dreams. Mm. So that's powerful, right? But people can use it in a wrong way if they're not using it to help people.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's scammers on online that they'll call you. They'll call the elderly and tell them something. I don't know. One thing I heard is where they said that the IRS, you owe money, to the IRS, right? And then before you know it, they're sending money, right? So that's why I said these are powerful tools, but it should be used for good.
What? Yeah. I was gonna say, what about the people too? Like, they'll buy something. Well, I don't want to really say convince, but like, if you're really good at sales, you could get them to buy something because you use the right words or, you kind of understand like their psychology. But 2 minutes later, they call you, oh, you're a scammer. I regret it. How could you sense who's going to have that buyer's remorse? Yeah. And then you're like, damn, I should have just said forget it when they said no.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's no foolproof way, but there are red flags. So if let's say you call me, you say, I want to speak on your stage, I tell you what it is, you're like, okay, great, I'll do it. And then you say, well, let me ask you a question. What if I decide I don't want it? Like, will you give me my money back? Yeah. And you start asking questions like that. You know what I'm going to say? Why don't you go ahead and think about it first? Yeah. And then come back, call me if you really want it. Because they're setting themselves up. They're setting themselves up to, ask you for the money, right? Or people say, so Eric, can you guarantee me how much I'm going to make? I'm like, no. Like, I need to get, like, business, there's no guarantee. Yeah. There's no, I can show you all the people on my website that benefited from this, but I can't guarantee. And some people say, well, they don't want to sign up unless there's a guarantee. If those people sign up, they're probably going to get their money back if they don't make the money they wanted to make. Yep. And a lot of those people they're not actually willing to do the work to make the money. Right? I mean, I can get you on stages. I can get you to all the videos and the pictures and everything. But if you don't follow up on your leads, nothing I can do to help you. Sure. One lady came on, spoke on our stage. She became a best-selling author the next day. Wow. Sold 300 of her books just like that. Wow. And she was so impressed with how much money she made. She signed up again and she spoke on our stage again and got more speaking engagement. Right? But it's because she works her leads. Right. So she's like, Eric, is it unheard of for me to come another time because your stage has really helped me, right? But I'm sure there'll be someone out there that won't do anything. Yep. And just expect to money just pop in their account. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. How often do you disqualify somebody from like a sale? You know what I mean? Like, some people like, hey, listen, I got the money, everything looks good. Like, how often do you disqualify somebody? Because you may know the kind of person you want to work with or don't want to work with, or they may not be financially ready, or they may be financially ready. Like, how often would you disqualify somebody?
I don't disqualify that often, but if I see red flags, I will.
What's typically like red flags you run away from?
Someone that is just not sure of anything. You know, so what are you going to talk about? Well, I can talk about mindset. I can talk about public speaking. I can talk about this. I could talk. Well, no, you have to be an expert. It's one thing. Right? One of the things that creates success is being an expert at something. If you're a generalist, people won't pay you high dollar for to be a generalist, right? So that disqualifies people almost right away, where they just want to do everything. And then they say, well, I want multiple streams of income. Quite frankly, most people have multiple droplets of income. They don't have multiple streams. Right? You need one major stream before you got multiple. Before you get the multiple, right? So yeah, you need to, you know, that's one of the piece of advice I give a lot of entrepreneurs. Get good at something.
Right.
So good at it that people will come from miles. People will beg, borrow, and I won't say the third one to pay for to pay for your offer, right? And then when you're good at that, then you can diversify and everything like that. But you know, people are afraid to commit to something.
Right.
They're afraid to commit to something. Yeah.
So you mentioned speaking on our stages, like your stage. So how does it work? Like you set up stages for people, or like you get the crowd, you get the audience, you sell tickets. Like how does it work?
Yeah. So for my stage, they actually come into the studio, right? And we do a live event. So we have one coming up in October. We're still looking for a few speakers. We do a live event, and at that event, they're able to speak to a live audience. It's actually a worldwide audience, right? So that's how that works. However, we do help them get on other stages, right? So we meet with them. We find out what their target audience is. That, you know, there's a whole process for that. We help them with that. But it starts with our stage, because we know we can get you the assets you need. You need the videos you need, the pictures you need. We can get you the award, you know, all of that stuff. So, and we can introduce you to other speakers, coaches, and authors, because we have a community now, right? So
would you recommend something like that for like that live type of audience, like for like a podcast as well? Like you know, you're bringing on a guest, having a live podcast. They also have an opportunity to sell. Like, that's like a good package to put together?
That could definitely work. Absolutely. It can definitely work.
How much do you typically charge for like setting up something like that for your guests?
Oh, you mean like for the podcasters?
No,
or for
just
people
for like
speak on my stage.
Speak on your
Well,
stage.
it depends. I have different packages. So people that are interested usually go to studiospeaking.com, book a call, and then we see what's best for them. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we talked a lot about on the sales side, right? And I think you mentioned sales, marketing is probably the two most important things when it comes to business.
Yeah.
When it comes to marketing, like what's your top go-to strategies of marketing your business and being able to find more stages? Like what's like your go-to? Because I know you said you don't hold back, you know, especially when it comes to sales. You can't be afraid to share. So like what's some of those things that people are paying you top dollar to be able to find, market your business, find more stages to speak on? What's some of those strategies you usually go to?
Okay. So, you know, to be effective as a person that sells, right, and speaks, you have to build know, like, and trust. People have to know, like, and trust you. The best way to do it online is by creating videos, right? If you're not creating videos, you're losing out on a lot of money. Okay, you're just making excuses. That's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you, because 85% of the people that consume content online, it's a video they consume. Right. People want to feel like they know you. Right. They want to be like, I was working. There was a lady that I met on Zoom, and we're talking about her speaking on my stage, and all of a sudden she said, I have to go pick up my son. I totally forgot. I have to go. And then she said, well, you know, just put the link in the chat and I'll buy it, and then we'll talk about it later. So I did it, right? And then later I asked her, so why would you decide to buy it when I haven't even told you what it's about? She said, well, because I see your videos and I feel like I know you, right? And if you can give all that value to me, you know, when I didn't pay, I know you're going to give me more. Right. And that's building know, like, and trust. So you have to do more videos, right? And you have to post on a regular basis, and people have to feel like they know you, right? And then you have to post valuable information that they can help them. Look at it this way: whether they buy or not, they're going to be blessed by what you have.
Right.
That's how you have to look at it.
So you basically you gotta warm them up before.
Yes.
But all right, so now I do have a caveat too. There's people that's posting content every single day. You know, they show up consistently, but the sales calendar is empty. the last time they processed a transaction was probably a month ago.
Yeah.
You know, like, how do you really get those people from online to on your calendar and start processing those payments? Like how do you usually turn those people into customers now?
So one of the things is to have a call to action, right? So you give all that value and people are like, oh, this is great. Then tell them how they can get more, right? Book a call or, join my challenge, right? Bring them into your world, right? And then that's where the sales start coming in. Just doing videos is not enough. In fact, I think what it is, it helps you once you actually have the offer and know how to sell. Then all that other stuff works. Right. But you could do content for 3 years and not make a dime. That's true. Not make a dime. And you'll be very entertaining though, right? So you need to do that. You have to have systems in place, funnels, different system that brings people in to get more and be able to meet with you. You have to meet with people. If you have a high ticket offer, do not put it on your website and say 5,000 for this, 10,000 for this. Guess what? Nobody's buying. You need to talk to people. You need to talk to people. So that's very important. You talked about booking calls. That's important because you just realize that no one's clicking on that link. Yeah.
So like some of the ways like you warm people up would be through the content, through like free information online. Do you have like digital products as well?
Yes. Ebooks, right? Email list. I have a large email list. When you give someone information, they give you their email or sometimes their phone number. They get into your email list, and then you can give them information every week, right? Valuable information every week. And then when you send out an email, say, hey, here's an offer to buy this. Some people will say, oh, I've been getting all this free stuff. Let me try buying something. Right? So the email list is also very important because you own the email. You don't own your social media.
Yeah,
you don't own that. Yeah, trust me. Zuckerberg is very good at taking it away from you.
Absolutely,
very good at that, and he can do it anytime he wants.
That is true.
But my email list is mine forever.
Yeah. So how hard is it, or like how hard is it to sell in like a cold approach? Like let's say, you just got a product out there. You post content, but not a lot, and you just want to sell something. Like how hard is it to sell through that cold approach or just jumping on the stage with nobody even knowing you?
It's challenging because again, if people don't know, put yourself in their position. You don't know the guy and he's telling you to buy something. You're like, let me find out about him. Let me hold off, right? So that's why you have the events. When they see you at different events, you spoke on a stage, studio, you spoke on the podcast, you're speaking all over the place, they start to believe you. Wow. They're like, wow, okay, he's helping a lot of people. They want to be a part of it. So they'll get something, right? And then that person that got your $100 offer may get the $2,000 offer at one point, and then may get the VIP day for 5-10 times more, right? So it's a process. But if you're just thinking, I'm just going to go online and make a whole bunch of money, it's not going to happen because you're going to end up sending messages to people, just buy, and nobody does.
Right.
Nobody does.
And so now, how do you go about finding stages to speak on? Because, all right, and I'll probably add on to this question too. So now, how do you go about finding stages to speak on? Because you did mention, in order to be able to, like, if you're a business owner and you're trying to get your products out there, you got to be on at least 3 stages a week. Let's just say and to add on to the question now, let's say if I got a goal of making, $20,000 a week, how do I, like, what's the math? Like, how many, people I got to reach out to be able to get on X amount of stages, making sure that I'm on 3 stages a week? How many people got to be inside the rooms for me to be able to close my offer at the end of that speaking engagement? Like, just walk us through on, finding the stages to speak on, being able to having the amount of people inside of the rooms to be able to close on that room. Like, what does the process look like from, I kind of say start to finish? Well, you probably put start. Never mind. You do your thing.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There are different ways to start, right?
Okay.
You can start at a networking event where you're meeting people. You can start with the Facebook ads, right? We do Facebook ads. You have to do it in different ways because and as it's a funnel, right? So people hear what you're saying, and then they book a call, then the fewer people book a call, then fewer people buy, right? That's how it works. But you have to know that it's numbers, right? You can't expect everybody that sees it to buy, right? if you like, when I did an event and I had 36 people book a call, I think it was 11 or 12 that bought, right? So, but if I didn't have 36, then I wouldn't have 12, right? So yeah. So the exact number is hard to tell. It's hard to tell the exact number, but even if you're doing an event, maybe 50% of people may not even show, right? Especially if it's free. If it's paid, way more people show because they have skin in the game, right? So that's another topic. But yeah, so the exact number is, you actually have to do it to find out.
Right.
You have to actually do it to find out, to see what your ratio is. People have different ratios.
So, all right, so you would say, all right, cool. If I come to you and I say, all right, cool, I want to make $20,000 a month, there's X amount of networking events that you got to go to, X amount of dollars that you got to spend on ads. What's some of the other strategy you might say?
Well, I also say, how much is your offer? Right. If your offer is $100, it's going to take a long time.
$1,000. Let's say $3,000.
$3,000. Okay. So you have to, $3,000. You need to sell what, 7 for 21,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like, I need 7 sales. So you have to think, how many people do I need to talk to get 7 sales? Right. So let's say you sell what, 1 out of 5, right? So then you have to do 5 times 7, so that's 35. So I need to talk to 35 people. Okay. So in a month. So in a week, that's about what? 10, that maybe 8. Let's say 8 people. Okay. So now you said 8 people is who I need to talk to. Yeah. Now, with my marketing, how many people do I get to book a call? If you get 16 people to book a call, some people won't show up. So you may get like 12 that you talk to. Out of 12, if you close, let's say 4 out of 12, then that's 4. So now you have to double everything else to be able to get to 8, right? So that's why I said you actually have to do it and then see where your ratio is, and then you can scale from there. You can scale from there. But you do have to do what you just said. You know, you have to look at where the end is, right? Start with the end in mind, right? That's why I always tell people that say, well, I want to get to 100,000 and they have an offer that's $100. I'm like, it's going to take a long time. Like do the math. Just do the math. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So part of it is how much your offer is. Part of it is who you're talking to, right? For me, I do VIP studio speaking experiences. I don't work with everybody. I work with people that are willing to invest in themselves to get for a one-stop shop to get everything. Right. My messaging doesn't pull people that just want to try it out or people that don't want to spend money. It doesn't pull that because people that see VIPs like, got to spend some money. I'm not interested. Yeah. That's good. That's good because I don't want to talk to you either. I don't want to. Let's not waste each other's time, right? Yeah. Let's not waste each other's time. So, but if you believe in yourself, you'll attract the right people and repel the wrong.
Right. Yeah. What are some of your favorite, speaker entrepreneurs? Like, they got speakers like Myron Golden. He uses the Bible, which is a very it's like a different way to sell. And then you got people who, kind of like you said, Tony Robbins. Different people. Like, who's your favorite, speaker entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I won't say I have a favorite. Because what I do is I take the good and leave the bad. Right? I even like something about you, and I despise something else, right? Yeah. Like Mayweather, I love him as a boxer, but I don't want him to teach my sons how to burn money out and and brag everywhere he goes, right? So you take some things and leave the rest. So someone like Tony Robbins, right? He's prolific. He's everywhere. He's always speaking. Yeah. That's a great trait. He can't lose. He's everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's a great trait. You mentioned, who else you mentioned?
Myron Golden.
Myron Golden. I love Myron Golden. I've been to his events twice in Florida, right? I learn a lot from Myron. He talks about the Bible, and he probably repels some people.
Yeah,
but you think he cares?
True.
No.
Yeah.
Because I'm a believer. I read the Bible. I'm following him, right? He doesn't worry about people that don't, we pray before we speak on our stage. We all hold hands and pray. And someone said to me, well, Eric, what if someo's not comfortable praying? They can step back. I'm still going to pray before every event. Am I worried about what he thinks or what God thinks, right? Like, you got to, you know, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, right? You got to stand for something.
Right.
You know, so.
That's true.
Yeah.
How important has faith been along your journey, you know, of becoming a very successful entrepreneur like yourself?
Oh, extremely important. Extremely important. You know, when we wake up in the morning and we take that first breath, it's not our power. It's not our power, right? I tell my kids when we're driving and we see someone homeless, I'm like, that person, they may have been just fine 6 months ago. We're not better than them, right? So I don't want you to think that, right? It's the grace of God that makes us what we do and makes us be able to do what we do, right? It's the grace of God, because, you know, I remember I was playing soccer and I fell and I had a shoulder injury and I dislocated a shoulder and I had to go in for an operation. And I went from being on the field to being in an operation in like 2 hours. And I'm laying there and the nurse comes in and is telling me, you know, all the things that could happen. And the last thing is death. And I'm like, I was just playing soccer two hours ago. You're talking about death? You think I was thinking about anything but just waking up?
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about my vacation. I wasn't thinking of building a bigger house. I was just thinking of coming back so my sons can see me, right? And I was just praying, right? So all the power is with God, whether you like it or not. you know, whether you like it or not, right?
Yeah.
That's where it's, you know. So yeah, so it's huge for me, huge for me, and you know, and I talk about it sometimes, and it doesn't matter if people don't like it, then keep moving.
Man,
that works for me.
Yeah.
You know, keep moving. You know.
Wow.
That is true. That is true. I did want to ask you too. Like, were you like someone who used to watch like TEDx talks? Because it's kind of something similar. Like, it just reminds me of that whole, like, you know, having somebody on the stage.
Yeah.
Or even Toastmasters too.
Yes. I joined Toastmasters. Man, I was a president of a Toastmasters years ago. I just want to develop my speaking, right? I watch a lot of people. Les Brown. I used to watch him a lot. I used to watch him. And one thing I realized too, you have to have your own style. I don't have the Les Brown style.
He
right?
got the loud laugh.
He's loud.
Yeah.
Like he rhymes. Like, I won't remember my rhyme on stage, right? Right. So be yourself. Be yourself, and take the good and the bad. Like, don't take the good, let the bad go. Don't just emulate someone and just say, I just want to be all that person. Like, you may meet him and not even like the guy. You know what I mean? So don't worship anybody. We're all human beings. All human beings. But you can learn from different people. Different people, yeah.
Right.
Now I'm glad you kind of broke it down, like, you know, this way, because you really made it, you know, well, you kind of explained it in a way where speaking is something that it's a skill anybody can have.
Everybody,
you know
can
what I
learn
mean?
how to speak. Yes.
Because a lot of times, a lot of people think they can't, like, develop that skill.
Yeah.
But most of the times, I've seen speakers who on stage they're super charismatic. You know, they got a lot of energy. Off stage, they're quiet. They like, and then you're just like, is this the same person that was on stage?
Yeah.
So you could just tell that they got that skill of just speaking.
Yeah.
You know, so that's definitely you know, that's something that, you know, most entrepreneurs, you know, they might not realize yet. You know, so what are some ways that you go out and you find you know, you're the next future speaker to put on your stage? Like how do you find them?
Well, I don't actually go after people that, you know, really, it's really people come to me that want to speak.
Yeah.
But I guess the perfect person to speak on my stage is someone that's just hungry for more. You have a great product, or you have a great signature talk, but you want more people to see it. You want to impact more lives, right? And you want to get the digital assets to help you, right?
Yeah.
I don't accept everybody, right? If you just started speaking and you're not really comfortable in front of a crowd, then it's probably not time yet to be on the studio, right? But there's some people that they're not sure if they can do it. Like, I talk to you and you know what you want, and I can provide it, and then you say, well, I want to hold off for a year or two. And those are the people that I say, well, what's going to change in a year or two? Because it's only fear that's stopping you. So let me take fear away and just tell you that I give you permission to do it. You can do it.
Wow.
You know, a lot of times that's what people need to hear. Right?
Question. I know you're a very impactful speaker. You've changed a lot of lives, you know. When it comes to, like, some of the people you've worked with, can you remember a story of, like, one of the people that you work with the transition on how things happen that almost probably might even led you to shed a tear or something.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
One of the stories that you will probably never forget. What's some of those things that what's something that comes to mind when you think about something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean several. The thing is when you have them actually crying, then you're like, wow, I didn't know I had this much impact. So there was a lady, I won't mention her name because obviously she didn't give me permission to, but when she came to me, she said that her family thinks she's crazy. It's like because I'm an entrepreneur and I want to build a business, they always say I should just get a good job, and I know I have more in me. And she wanted to be able to get the word out about her coaching program, about her book, and I told her I would help her, and I helped her. And she made more money than she thought she'd ever make. Number one, she was able to raise her prices because her confidence increased.
Where was she at prior in pricing?
Oh, pricing, she was like $500. Yeah, she turned it into a $2,500 deal. And then when she told me how much she made, I think she sold like 10 of them. I told her that your offer is actually worth double, but I wanted us to start at $2,500.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow. So I gave her permission to make more money, and that's all she needed. She needed that push, right? And she did a testimonial saying, well, I would have paid more than double what he asked me for if I knew that I'm going to get all this, right? So yeah, and that's exciting to be able to change someone's life, right? It's not just the money, but the impact. Because what I did helped her family, helped her children. And the mindset shift is huge because now she'll impart that in her children. That turns into legacy right there. So yeah.
That's powerful, man. That's powerful. I do want to jump into, a little off topic about business. You say you got kids and whatnot.
Yes.
How many children you got?
I have 3 sons, all teenagers.
Oh, teenagers.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
Man. Do they work under you?
No. One of them is in college. I just said, focus on your college. I said, look, when I was in college, I worked full time.
Yeah.
So you don't have to work. So no excuse, just focus on your college, or else I'm not paying for it anymore, right? Yeah. So yeah, my other one is really ambitious. My 16-year-old is really ambitious. They all do well. And my third one's an athlete. He wants to be a professional athlete. So I said, well, that's great, but at the same time, you have to study. You have. He said, well, if I'm 17 years old, and I get recruited by a company in Europe to play football in Europe football. Like, will you tell me to go to college or I can play? Yeah. I'm like, I'll let you play, but before then you have to have good grades until you get to 17. But I believe in abundance. I don't tell my kids what to do. I want them to do whatever. If my son says I want to be a comedian, you better be funny. You better be a good one. You better be a really good comedian. You know what I mean? So we don't want to tell them exactly what they need to do. We just want to support them in what they want to do, and give them the skills that they've read a lot of books that I read, right? Think and Grow Rich, Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My kids have read all of them because I want them to have the mindset I had growing up, and then they can decide what they want to do.
Right. Right.
So before we close too, just to add on to that, I was going to say, knowing what you know and your background in sales, and then seeing the direction that the world itself is going into, a lot of people are losing faith in the educational system, and you have kids. So a lot of times, a lot of people go through the school system and they realize like, hey, I just put myself in $100,000 in debt. It wasn't worth it. Instead they could have been spending that time probably from 14 to 24 learning sales and become highly successful. Yeah. So a lot of people find that it's a waste of time. Like what's your views on that?
Well, now for me, I won't say it was a waste of time because I wouldn't take it back. I love my education, but that's not what made me what I am today. It's not. I have a business degree, but I've learned 90% of what I learned in business was not in college. It was outside of college. So there has to be a mix, right? And what I do find unfortunate is people will spend $100,000 to get that degree, and then they won't want to spend any money on coaching for their business. Like they see the need to get the degree with $100,000, but when they say, okay, you want to learn how to speak on podcasts, you want to learn how to be a public speaker, you want to learn how to build funnels. Oh, I'm not gonna pay for that. Oh no,
just go on YouTube.
It just go YouTube, and then they don't make the money, and then they complain, right? So you can't have it both ways. If you want to be great at what you do, you will have to invest. You definitely will have to invest. Whether they go to college or not, that's their prerogative. Some people don't need to. Tony Robbins didn't go to college. Yeah. He started when he was 19. Never went to college, but not everybody can do that. So it's really believing in yourself and finding your passion to impact the world. Yeah, not depending on anybody or anything or any institution.
Okay, all right, cool. You got any final questions, bro?
Nah, this was a really good one. I mean, I truly learned a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
I could tell, like, Eric is a real expert in the field. Really knows what he's talking about, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna learn a lot.
Absolutely,
this is good.
But I did have a lightning round of questions that I don't ask this, but I thought you would probably be the perfect person to ask these questions. So, last few questions. What's one book every speaker should read?
Every speaker should read?
Yeah.
Well, I think How to Win Friends and Influence People is a book you should read whether you're a speaker or not, because it's all about connecting with people.
Right.
Connecting with people. Speaking is about connecting with people one-to-one, whether you're on a stage. And then once you have that foundation, you can speak to anybody.
Nice.
So that's a foundational book everybody should read.
Okay. What's a favorite scripture that fuels you?
John 10:10. I am come so you may have life and have it more abundantly. I believe in abundance. God does not want us to be broke. Don't fool yourself into thinking God wants you to be broke. People say, well, how did they say? It's easier for a camel to walk through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. He didn't say it's impossible. You can still enter heaven, okay?
Yeah.
You don't need to be broke. And a lot of people just they say things like that, and they justify staying where they are,
right,
and not growing, right? There's abundance out there. Forget the terrorists, forget the recession, forget all of that. There's so much to be made. Yeah. Just come up with an idea, believe in yourself, and you can impact the world.
If God gave you a mic to speak to the world for 60 seconds, what would you say?
I would talk about believing in yourself. I really would.
Probably the most important thing.
That's what it starts with. Look, I can fly in Tony Robbins to sit with someone for a whole week and teach them sales, teach them everything. But if they don't believe in themselves after the whole week, it's a waste of time. You still have to believe in yourself. And so work on yourself more than you work on your business.
What's the biggest lesson you learned from failure?
That is, it's a necessity for success. You can't succeed without failing. How are you going to do that? You can't skip the failure. I did my first webinar, nobody showed up. Right. The second one, I had 2 people. I mean, 1 person. Right. Then I ended up having webinars with 100. Then I ended up having studio events with hundreds. If I didn't start the first one, I would have never graduated to the second one and given myself permission to keep doing it. Yeah. Right. So failure is a prerequisite to success. If you're trying to avoid failure, you're actually avoiding success.
Nice. All right, cool. So how can the people find you? You left off with some powerful words. How can the people find you? And if you want to add on to anything else, you could definitely do that for sure.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I have a gift for everybody.
Oh, you do?
Yes, all your whole audience. I have a gift. This is something I worked on for months, so I really should be charging for it, but I'm going to give it for free. Okay. Nice. Yeah. So go to successwitheric.com/100. So Eric is ERIC. successwitheric.com/100. And I'm giving you 100 tips to market your business, to generate leads, make more sales, and make more money. 100 tips. So you can grab it right now for free. And to reach me, just go to Eric F. King on LinkedIn, Instagram, any social media, and you'll find me. If you look for Eric King, you may not find me. Right? So look for Eric F. King and you'll see me. Thanks.
All right, cool.
So you got to tap in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Not all the time we got people, giving gifts.
Word, man. Usually people don't really be giving the gifts, but if you've been working on this for months, the people definitely, it's valuable. This is something you guys need to tune into. For sure. Eric, I appreciate you for coming through. Sharing with our audience some of the tips and the strategies that work for you, your business, some of your clients. And definitely tap in with Eric if you guys are looking to get on some more stages. I told you, stay to the end. I didn't know he was going to give a gift, but listen, he did. That's another episode of Motion and Success. Like, comment, share. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
All right.